For this patient group, we had a number of patients like Yvonne who had to wear a sling while they were at work. So the reason they were wearing the sling would be because after breast cancer surgery, a lot of patients would have lymphedema, which is swelling of their arm. It can be very painful. So in order to help the patients, they would wear a sling just to help to ease the pain.
I wore the sling for 3 days, and it was just while I was at work, so on work time. And when I went home, I was able to take it off and drive home and play with my kids and enjoy my family time. But real cancer patients can't do that. They have to go home if they're fit to work, and then they have to mind their family, do their meals, do everything that I take for granted. They can't do that. And they're dealing with pain and taking medication, plus their surgeries, and if they're restricted in any way as well. So it had a big effect and a bit of a reality check for things that you take for granted, things that I take for granted. So it was very good in that regard.
I think it's important that we get involved anyway to bring us closer to the patient. You know, really that's what we're all about here. Is experiencing what it's like for our patients on a daily basis. But obviously that personal history, that personal understanding, or you know, when you've been through an experience, or somebody or people close to you have been through that experience, I think it lends it greater weight. But obviously it's part of our core values, you know, being close to the patient and keeping the patient at the centre of everything that we do.
So when you told people that it was a patient experience event, I suppose they really, you know, it made them ask a few more questions about the treatments that we're working on here in Sligo as well. So I suppose from that side of things, it was quite positive because it brought some awareness around what we're doing here.
There was a very positive reaction, even from people like our canteen staff, our security staff, some of our, you know, electrical contractors. They were going, that's a fantastic thing to be able to do. You know, we talk about what we do here, but we can get caught in the day-to-day. But to actually understand the therapies and the medicines that are actually leaving this plant, you know, it's a fantastic experience to be involved in.
A lot of people stopped and asked why was I wearing it, and I explained what was going on and about the Patient Awareness Day and what it was mimicking. And they found it very interesting, and they were asking what was coming up down the line in relation to the Patient Awareness Day, and I was able to tell them. So it did create a lot of awareness on site, so it worked very well in that regard.
Rather than adjusting to the sling, I suppose I adjusted my daily activities to the requirements of the sling. Possibly by day 3, I was slightly improving on that. I suppose as the site adjusted, I found on day 3, people started opening doors for those of us that were actually carrying slings, that there was much more, I suppose, consideration for somebody wearing a sling.
While it's an inconvenience in terms of wearing the sling, the realisation that it brought to me was that really you can never really put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's suffering from cancer. You may have some of the inconvenience of it, but you can never really fully understand what it's like to actually walk in their shoes.
It is important, you know, that we don't just mouth the platitude of the patient at being the centre, that we actually do experience what it's like to be a patient. And in that experience then I think that brings us closer to what it is for our patients to live with the diseases that they live with.
I'd absolutely recommend it. It definitely was a great experience over the 3 days. Wearing the sling was actually very visual. It prompted a lot of discussions around the sling. Those of us that were wearing slings, as we got together on day 2 and day 3, we really saw the site evolve to the patient experience this time.
It's good on a personal level in that it brings you down to earth and brings you back to what we're doing is for patients. We're making medicines here, and you go about your day-to-day job and you sometimes forget why you're doing it, and what's at the end of it all is our patients. So it was good that it brought that back home, and it'd be nice for everyone to be able to be brought back down to that level at some stage over the course of a year or two, to feel that and to feel why we're doing it, and especially for something as serious as cancer.